Hey guys, how's it going? So I have breaking news, and this is regarding forced reset triggers and the fact that the ATF intends to take appropriate remedial action with respect to sellers and possessors of these devices, and that they are considering them machine guns. So just a few minutes ago, I got a letter from a friend of mine, and this is an open letter that was just sent out to all FFLs. So this is what your local FFL has either received or is going to be receiving. And this comes from the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And this is their Office of Enforcement Programs and Services, Office of Field Operations. Dated March 22nd, 2022. Open letter to all federal firearms licensees. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives recently examined devices commonly known as forced reset triggers, FRTs, and has determined that some of them are firearms and machine guns as defined in the National Firearms Act and machine guns as defined in the Gun Control Act. These particular FRTs are being marketed as replacement triggers for AR-type firearms. Unlike traditional triggers and binary triggers, sometimes referred to generally as FRTs, the subject FRTs do not require shooters to pull and then subsequently release the trigger to fire a second shot. Instead, these FRTs utilize the firing cycle to eliminate the need for the shooter to release the trigger before a second shot is fired. By contrast, some aftermarket triggers have similar components, but also incorporate a disconnector or similar feature to ensure that the trigger must be released before a second shot may be fired and may not be machine guns. Both the NFA and GCA regulate machine guns. Machine gun is defined under 26 U.S.C. 5845B and 18 U.S.C. 921A 23 as any weapon which shoots, is designed to shoot, or can be readily restored to shoot automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger. This term shall also include the frame or receiver of any such weapon, any part designed and intended solely and exclusively, or a combination of parts designed and intended for use in converting a weapon into a machine gun, and any combination of parts from which a machine gun can be assembled if such parts are in possession or under the control of the person. Emphasis added. They put that in there. Emphasis added. ATF's examination found that some FRT devices allow a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger. For this reason, ATF has concluded that FRTs that function in this way are a combination of parts designed and intended for use in converting a weapon into a machine gun, and hence, ATF has classified these devices as a machine gun, as defined by the NFA and GCA. Accordingly, ATF's position is that any FRT that allows a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger is a machine gun, and accordingly subject to the GCA prohibitions regarding the possession, transfer, and transport of machine guns. Under 18 U.S.C. 922-0 and 922-A4, they are also subject to registration, transfer, taxation, and possession restrictions under the NFA. See 26 U.S.C. 5841, 5861, 27 CFR 479.101. Under 26 U.S.C. 5871, any person who violates or fails to comply with the provisions of the NFA may be fined up to $10,000 per violation and is subject to imprisonment for a term up to 10 years. Further pursuant to 26 U.S.C. 5872, any machine gun possessed or transferred in violation of the NFA is subject to seizure and forfeiture. Under 18 U.S.C. 924A2, any person who violates 9220 may be sent to prison for up to 10 years and fined up to $250,000 per person or $500,000 per organization. Oh boy. Based on the ATF's determination that the FRTs that function as described above are machine guns under the NFA and GCA, ATF intends to take appropriate remedial action with respect to sellers and possessors of these devices. Current possessors of these devices are encouraged to contact ATF for further guidance on how they may divest possession. If you are uncertain whether the device you possess is a machine gun as defined by the GCA and NFA, please contact your local ATF field office. You may consult the local ATF office's webpage for office contact information. And this is signed digitally signed by George Lauder, Assistant Director, Enforcement Programs and Services. And I can't read whose signature that is up there. So look, guys, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't personally believe these are machine guns myself, just due to the sheer definition of how they work. However, this is an open letter that was sent out to all FFLs, and it is specifically talking about current possessors of these devices are encouraged to contact ATF. And it also says that they're going to be taking remedial action with respect to sellers and possessors of these devices. Now, remedial, how I understand that would be if you had parts that were non-conforming, you would remediate them to fix them. Or you would remove something that was a problem or something that wasn't in compliance. Think of like a mold remediation company. They come into your home and they remove the mold. So they are very clearly saying that they intend to take appropriate remedial actions with respect to sellers and possessors. Now, you should contact your attorney or your loved ones and use your common sense whether you think it's in your best interest, whether you want to contact your local ATF field office, right? But that is what they're suggesting you can do, so you could divest your possession, which I think that's a fancy way to say hand them over. Now, I would also note, they don't list a particular name brand here. They're just generically and commonly referring to forced reset triggers as FRTs. They're acknowledging there may be different models, some which incorporate a disconnector, others do not. They're basically saying that if it fires automatically, they're talking about the shooting sequence, the recoil. We've seen other things like this. I'm not trying to add words to this, but we've seen other letters that have leaked that are germane to this topic, and I think some of the most common brands of forced reset triggers probably fall under this just by the plain reading of it. One other quick note, I want you guys to catch this detail here, and I think details and words do matter when it comes to laws. They're talking about they found some FRTs allow the firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a continuous single pull, and later on they talk about the continuous pull of the trigger. But in the actual legal definition from the law itself that they quote right up here in the letter, it uses the terminology a single function of the trigger. So I'm also seeing this where it's showing them, in my opinion, conflating two different terms. The law says a single function of the trigger. They're now changing it to a single pull of the trigger. Just read this for yourself and tell me what you guys think down in the comments. So there you guys go. Open letter to all FFLs that they're encouraging you to divest and that they do intend to take remedial actions with respect to sellers and possessors. Alright guys, thanks for watching and have a good one.